Helo na, bore da iawn I chi, ac mae'n fore da iawn am sawl reswm wrth gwrs y bore yma. Mae'n fore dydd Gwener, ac wrth gwrs I ni gyd yn cael cwmni'n gilydd fan hyn. Pawb o dros Gymru ar gyfer bore digon difyr o drafod a deud y gwir. A deud y gwir bore yma, I ni yma, it's a Friday morning, of course. It's great to have you all here from across Wales joined on this call this morning. Welcome to e-sgol, a session as a part of e-tholiad, a programme, of course, which promotes the use of technology in education in a positive way. Now, before we get started, I just want to get clear on some of the translation facilities we have this morning. Dewch I ni gael ambell beth mas o'r ffordd. The session today will be held mainly in Welsh, but I prefer to use Wenglish. I go in between the both languages. However, if you do want the translation services, there are instructions on the screen now. As you can see, if you want to click more language and speech, click interpretation language and choose English if you don't understand Welsh. Ond ta waith, gyda hynny o eiriau y bore yma, dewch I ni gael fwrw ati gyda'r trafod. Ac I ddechrau, dewch I fi gael cyflwyno'r panel sydd gyda ni y bore yma. Gai ofyn iddyn nhw gymryd I camerau off yn gyntaf, fel ein bod ni'n gallu gweld nhw. Yn gyntaf, felly, ni'n gweld yn fyna, mae rhywun gyda na, un ap Iorwerth, rhywun yw'r un ar ran Plaid Cymru y bore yma, arweinydd y blaid wrth gwrs yn ymuno gyda ni, a Carolyn Thomas hefyd, aelod o'r Senedd dros Ogledd Cymru. Yn gyntaf, lecyn ni hefyd jyst ymddiheuro, nad yw Tom Giffad ar ran y Ceidwadwyr Cymreig yn gallu ymuno â ni y bore yma, na chwaith Jane Dodds arweinydd y Democratiaid Rhyddfrydol. O ran fi wedyn ni, chi siŵr o fod yn meddwl le'r ddeiar I fi. Wel, I fi yng nghanolfan darlledu y BBC yng nghanol Caerdydd yn sefyll yn un o'n studios ni. Y studio lle mae Bwletin y Tywydd a raglen newyddion ni yn dod o. Yn enw yw Jacob Morris, yw un newyddiadurwr gyda'r adran wleidyddol fan hyn yn BBC Cymru ac yn cyflwyno hefyd ambell raglen fel newyddion ni. Felly, I fwrw mlaen felly gyda y sesiwn y bore yma. Mae'na ambell reol gyda fi jyst I fwrw trwyddo y bore yma. Felly, byddwn ni'n dangos y cwestiynau I chi sydd wedi danfon mewn ganddo chi y gynulleidfa yn eich ysgolion chi ar draws Cymru. Fe fydd gan y gwleidyddion 1 munud, a fi'n siarad at y gwleidyddion fan hyn, 1 munud I ateb cwestiwn. Fi'n siŵr falle fydd hynny'n her I unrhyw wleidydd I wneud, ond ni'n gofyn iddyn nhw I geisio gorau. I know it's probably hard for politicians to understand about 1 minute, but we're going to try if they could keep their answers to 1 minute. That's the aim anyway. And I promise to keep the session today swift and moving smoothly because I know probably a lot of us have a lot to get on with before the weekend. Also, I'd like to invite, obviously, teachers or whoever is by the computer in your classroom to respond to the comments made by our politicians this morning. What are your thoughts? Did you like what they said? We want to hear. We want to make it an interactive session. So if you're sitting there and you have some thoughts in the classroom, send them over to us and we can then read them out and see what you think. I think there's a chat icon somewhere on your screen up there. Ond gyda hynny eiriau, dewch I ni gael bwrw mlaen felly gyda'r sesiwn y bore yma. Ac mae'r cwestiwn cyntaf yn dod ar ffurf fideo neu ar ffurf trackside. Dwi'n meddwl fideo gan haf yw hyn. Mae yna 2 gwestiwn mewn un a deud y gwir fan hyn. So dewch I ni gael gryndo yn nhw.
My name's Hav and my question is, why did you become a member of the Senedd?
Felly, cwestiwn 1 yn fyna, fi'n meddwl bod na un arall y felly ar y ffordd, ond os na, ewn ni'r cwestiwn yna. Pam ych chi am fod yn aelod o'r Senedd? Nawr, achos mai dyma'r cwestiwn cyntaf, sa'n mynd I fod mor llym o ran yr amseru, ond gan ein bod ni fan hyn y bore, mae dewch I fi ddod, I'll come to you first, Carolyn. Why did you decide to become a politician? What took you into politics?
Bore da, can you hear me okay?
Hear you perfectly. Thank you, Carolyn.
Great. Okay. So I was asked to become a member of the Senedd. I was, at the time, deputy leader of a council and cabinet member for street scene and countryside. And so I was, part of my job is looking at policies and budgets, and we'd been really impacted by the cuts that were coming forward. So I was asked to stand as a member of the Senedd and bring my experience with me. So I put my name forward and I got elected, which was, it was a little bit of a surprise actually, but I was really pleased that it's happened, and I've really enjoyed being a member of the Senedd.
Brilliant, diolch yn fawr iawn, Carolyn. A similar question we can see from Owi here, pam oeddech chi eisiau bod yn aelod o'r Senedd Rhyn o Ynys Môn. Beth nath eich gyrru chi? Wrth gwrs, mi oeddech chi newyddiadurwr cyn dod yn wleidydd. Ond beth oedd y tan ynddoch chi i gamu i ferw gwleidyddiaeth y bai?
Ie, a ni gwneud job tebyg iawn i ti, Jacob. Dwi wastad wedi caru Cymru, a wastad y diddordeb yn meddwl sut allan ni wella dyfodol Cymru, a diddordeb mewn gwleidyddiaeth. Oedd politics yn rhywbeth oedd gennau diddordeb yn efo, digon o diddordeb i actually fynd i weithio mewn politics fel newyddiadurwr. Ond wrth i fi fynd chydig bach yn hun, ac ar ôl gofyn lot o gwestiynau i wleidyddion, pan bo chi'n gwneud hyn, pan bo chi'n penderfynu hyn, o'n i'n meddwl, wel, falle bysa'n syniad hefyd i fi gynnig yn syniadau, ac yn syml iawn, mi ddath na gyfle. Mi gafodd na etholiad i alw'n sydyn iawn yn y lle dwi'n byw yn Ynys Môn, ac oedd rhaid i fi benderfynu, ydw i yn mynd i wneud hyn, neu peidio, a jyst anghofio amdano fo, ac yn y diwedd, oedd rhaid i fi wneud, oedd y cyfle i drio siapio dyfodol yn cymuned ni, siapio dyfodol Cymru yn rhywbeth oedd yn rhy anodd i fi wrthod. Felly nes i sefyll etholiad, a diolch byth cael fo ethol.
Ac erbyn hyn rhan yn arwen Plaid Cymru. Carolyn hefyd, wrth gwrs, the both of you are probably looking to next May, of course, for the elections, because as politicians, of course, it's not a job for life. It's a job that'll be contested every few years through an election. I think we do have a little reaction, actually, from Dyffryn Maesyfed from Holi in a clip, if I'm correct. Let's have a listen to what Holi has to say.
Hello, my name is Holi Hodge and I come from Radda Valley School. I've got a question for you. Out of all the aspects that you lead on, what is your favourite and why?
I'll come to you, Carolyn, on that. If you could just give us a brief answer. What are the aspects that you enjoy working on?
I like committee working, so that's when we do inquiries into different aspects of legislation coming forward. And we're currently working on the Bus Wales Bill. So I delivered a petition to the Senedd before I was a member of the Senedd to save public bus transport. And because as a cabinet member, I was attending community meetings where bus services had been cut, with 60 people, 100 people attending events, absolutely devastated at the loss of public bus transport. So it's really great that I can now take part in those inquiries to shape the bill going forward with my experience in local government.
And Reen, I'm going to come at you with a different question, because I think we have a small question from Victoria, from e-sgol Victoria. And the question is, how do members of the Senedd cope with the pressure of being a politician, Reen?
I'll answer just the previous question. First of all, what I enjoy most is bringing people together, because most good ideas work because different people contribute different elements to reaching a solution. So as a leader of a party, I have the honour of being able to really bring people together to make things happen. And that's a big part of how we deal with the pressure in politics. It's about working together. It's about seeing who's got a skill in doing this and who can do that well, bringing all that together, which helps all of us then. But it's also, like for all of you in your schoolwork, it's about being organised, deciding which is an effective way of working, sharing your time carefully between different elements of work. So yes, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of work, pretty endless, really. But there are different ways that we can work just to get us through our days and weeks in an effective way.
And Carolyn, briefly, if you'd like to come on that, what sort of pressures do you find in the job?
Yeah, we do have long days, but I just want to say, in the Senedd, you see us arguing on the TV, but outside of meetings, we all generally get on cross-party and we chat, we ask each other how we are. So we go for a cup of tea together, and that really helps, I think. So we chat about family life, if there's anything bothering us, and that's really important to do that, isn't it? And,
it's not quite...
I walk to the Senedd as well. I enjoy walking, get that fresh air beforehand. I know the Senedd member, he cycles afterwards just to get exercise and fresh air. So...
Mae hwnna'n bwysig iawn yn diwedd, bod ni'n barchus yn ein gwleidyddiaeth ni, bod ni'n sicrhau bod ni'n waraidd ac yn parchu ein gilydd ni. Great. Now, we're going to take it up a notch now, because we're going to go to number question 2, which we have. And this one, a warning for Carlin and Rhyn, we will be timing these answers. So around a minute will be given. But firstly, I'd like to point out, you can, of course, contact us through the chat bar. One school already has. We have year 5 from e-sgol Penarlag CP North Wales. They're here. So let us know if you're here listening. It's great to hear from you and any reactions from the comments. But let's next go to question 2, and I believe these are both on video form.
Ydych chi'n meddwl bod prisiau tai Ynys Môn yn rhyddlyd?
Ydych chi'n gallu helpu pobl sy'n ethu prynu bwyd i prynu bwyd?
Nawr, wrth gwrs fyna, fe glywon ni 2 gwestiwn bron yn sôn am gostau byw, economi yn naturiol. Fi'n mynd i ddod ydych chi yn gyntaf Rhyn ar hyn, achos roeddwn ni'n sôn fyna am Ynys Môn, eich patch chi os ymynwch chi. Ond sôn am 2 o le broblem sydd wrth gwrs yn mynd i effeithio felly nid bobl yr oedran hyn, felly bobl yn oedran i, felly hefyd o ran prisiau tai. Problem ar yr Ynys, problem dros Gymru. Be newch chi o hynny?
Ydy, mae'n sicr yn broblem, a mae hi'n broblem yn arbennig mewn lle fel Ynys Môn, oherwydd bod hi'n boblogaidd iawn, efo twristiaid hefyd, a bosib pobl eisiau cael tŷ i ddod yma jyst ar wyliau yn yr ha. Mae tai yn rhy ddrud, a da ni yn trio mynd i'r afal â hynny. Un peth sy'n gwneud ydy adeiladu mwy o dai, gwneud yn siŵr bod na ddigon o dai ar gael i bobl, i brynu, ond hefyd i rentu, achos nid dim ond rhy ddrud i brynu ydy tai. Mae tai yn gallu bod yn rhy ddrud i hyd yn oed rentu hefyd, a mae rhaid i ni drio mynd i'r afal â hynny. Ond hefyd, lle mae pobl wedi ffeindio'n hawdd iawn i brynu tŷ fel tŷ ha, bosib ddim yn cael ei ddefnyddio llawer o wythnosau mewn blwyddyn. Wel, da ni eisiau cofio mai prif job tŷ ydy bod yn gartra i rhywun, felly da ni wedi gwneud chydig o newidiadau yn yr blynyddoedd dwytha, just mwyn gwneud i ddim cweit mor hawdd i brynu tŷ ha a rhoi'r blaenoriaeth i bobl sydd eisiau byw mewn tŷ a magu teulu ag ati.
Ac efallai Rhyn, gai aros gyda chi, cos fi'n credu ar y dudalen nesaf, mae gyda ni'r timers yma, felly yna rhoi funud fach i chi ateb Rheini os yw'r timer yn gallu ymddangos gyda ni. Bydd i gweld nhw ar hyn o bryd, yn felly ddewn nhw ddan. Yr ail gwestiwn gyda ni fyna, I'll come to you next, Carlin, but Rhyn, o'n i'n sôn fyna ynglyn â costau byw, yn dod ni? Costau, maen nhw'n effeithio ar bobl ifanc, mae pobl ifanc yn sylwi gyda mam a dad, bod pethau newch, bod bwyd yn costi mwy. Be fydde Plaid Cymru wneud i ddatrys hynny?
Mae hwn yn un o'r problemau mawr sydd ganddo ni yng Nghymru, a mae'n broblem sydd wedi bod yn mynd yn waith ac yn waith, sef pobl yn byw mewn tlodi, ac yn enwedig plant yn byw mewn tlodi, yn mynd heb lot o yr basics. Mae'n rhaid i ni fynd i'r afel â hyn. Un, yn anffodus, mae angen pethau fel banciau bwyd a cefnogi banciau bwyd mwyn sicrhau bod teuluoedd a plant yn gallu cael help. Ddyle bod ddim angen. Ond ar hyn o bryd mae yna. Ond hefyd, mae rhaid i ni fwy na dim byd dod â pobl allan o'r tlodi. Mae'n rhaid i enghraifft yn ddiweddar wedi deud y byddan ni, os da ni'n ennill yr etholiad flwyddyn nesaf, yn dod â system newydd lle mae yna chydig bach mwy o arian yn cael ei roi ar gyfer teuluoedd lle mae plant yn byw mewn tlodi, mwyn taclo tlodi ei hun. Rheswm da ni'n gwneud hynny wrth gwrs ydy mwyn wneud yn siŵr bod bob plentyn yn cael y cyfle gorau mewn bywyd. Mae hyn yn bwysig iawn i fi.
Gwych, Rhyn, a diolch am gadw fewn y ffiniau amser yn fyna. Carlin, you also, because to be fair, I didn't cue Rhyn for the minute on the first answer. You can have two minutes, but we take your first answer when we start the clock in a minute. You represent North Wales, of course. Rhyn, obviously, on Ynys Môn too. Second homes is a problem. The cost of homes for young people is a problem. These young people listening this morning are only probably about 10, 15 years away, perhaps even 20 years at most, looking at buying houses. What would your message be to them? And your time starts now.
Yeah, houses used to be 3 times your income. That was the price of them. So they have become more expensive. We are building more low carbon houses to rent, which have been expensive to build, but really important because we need to have low energy prices as well. So, and I've seen some wonderful ones that have been built on Ynys Môn, which is great. I think that we do need to build more houses, but they do, as I said, need to be low carbon with solar, well insulated, grey water recycling, because I really care about the climate, so that we keep those bills down. And I also care access also to great public transport would make a difference. So not just affording a house, but also make the bills affordable too.
And you can also have a minute which will start. But of course, yesterday, I don't know if you saw, neges heddwch ac ewyllus da. Yr urdd was looking at tlodi plant a'r broblem mawr sydd yng Nghymru a ddewid gan Lywodraeth Cymru, wrth gwrs, i sicrhau bod nhw'n gwaredu tlodi plant. Lot fawr o feirniadaeth ar hynny. Carolyn, eich llywodraeth chi yw hon. Sut mae y llywodraeth nesaf yma, blwyddyn i fynd tan yr etholiad, yn bwriadu i daclo hyn, tlodi plant?
It has been really difficult because of the cuts in public funding. The Welsh Government can just deal with the amount of money it has, and the changes to welfare under the previous UK government has really had an impact on that two-child limit, and I know Welsh Labour would like to see that. But in Wales, we have currently got the free breakfast and free lunch programmes. The free lunch programmes was in partnership with Plaid. I think it's really good that we do work in partnership for primary school children. We've got community fridges so that any unwanted food from restaurants and shops or supermarkets can go to these community fridges, which helps, and food banks. But really, we do need to see the cost of food itself coming around. Locally sourced food, cooked from fresh, it makes such a difference as well, and it's cheaper that way. So yeah, there's lots to do still.
Briliant, diolch yn fawr iawn, Carolyn. Ni'n cael cwbl o ymatebio fan hyn y bore yma yn ein cyrraedd ni. Ysgol y Graig, diolch am ateb ein cwestiynau medden nhw. Cyngor Ysgol Penbaras yma hefyd. Year 6 from St Patrick's RC Primary School in Newport here. Year 5 from Alderman Davies Church in Wales Primary School here. Blwyddyn 5 a 6 from Ysgol Llandysilio Primary in North Powys area. Blwyddyn 5 a 6 Ysgol Croes Ati yma a pawb y mwynhau. Year 6 from Trinant Primary here. Dosbarth 6 from Ysgol Iau Hen Golwyn yma. Llwyn Eros yma. Glanhoiw yma. Mae yna lwyth yma gyda ni y bore yma. A'r neges yw ein bod ni'n mwynhau. Felly, Rhian and Carolyn, you must be doing something right on a Friday morning if all the schools across Wales are enjoying. We'll go on to question 3, and we will be timing question 3 for your answers. I'm not entirely sure what this question is, so we'll listen in on this. I can see there's some sort of astronaut asking us this one.
Hi, my name is Lily, and my question is, will you increase the 20 miles per hour limit?
The good old 20 miles per hour limit, something that, of course, many of you probably have noticed in your schools this morning, something you might have heard your parents discuss out in the car, perhaps when you're driving along, that you're going slow. Some would argue, some would say it's appropriate to have a 20 mile an hour. Firstly, Carolyn, I'm probably going to come to you first, because this is something your government introduced, and it has been, well, controversial to say the least. Carolyn, your minute starts now. Would you scrap it in a year's time?
I wouldn't scrap it. As previous cabinet member for highways, I tried to say that it could have been introduced a little bit differently. As previously, before I became a member of the Senedd, we would have liked to maybe to be introduced on an area basis. I think it's the right policy, but we need to have some of the strategic roads made back up to 30. That would help with our public bus transport as well, so buses can stick to timetables, and maybe compliance in those areas that are 20 miles per hour. But where, so I just think maybe a few small alterations, but otherwise it is saving lives. It feels so much safer walking along where there's 20 miles per hour. And, the change is always difficult, but it's already, I think, helping.
And Rhyn, before we come to you, of course, there's been much criticism on this policy, millions of pounds wasted, some argue, in trialling it. Next year, in a year's time, Rhyn, you could be in, and pardon the pun, in the driving seat in Wales as First Minister. Everything's up for grabs, of course, but it is possible from recent polling. What did Plaid Cymru do on this issue?
Yeah, the suggestion is maybe Plaid Cymru could be the government. It's been Labour for the past few years, and as Carolyn says, it maybe wasn't done in the best way. I think the government made a little bit of a mess of the way it was brought in. But in general, it's a good idea. I think some people went bonkers and said that this is stupid. They should only have this outside hospitals and schools. And then I say, but what about outside shops? Oh yes, outside shops as well. What about where people live in the houses? Oh yes, there too. And playgrounds. Oh yes, there. So actually, it's a very good idea to have lower speed limits where there are lots of people and traffic together. But what happened was there were too many places where it didn't feel reasonable for it to be brought in. I and my colleagues said, have a look again and change this, because if you have people thinking it's not reasonable, they lose support then for the places where it is important to be brought in. So let's tweak it a little bit. But you see it across England and other parts of the UK. This is becoming more and more normal now anyway.
Mae yna arwydd tu fas y parc lle fi'n byw fan hyn yn Gaerdydd, ac yn hytrach na gweud araf slow, fi'n dwlu arno fe, mae'n gweud fel malwen. Felly, maybe the Welsh Government should think of more creative ways, I don't know, of spreading the message around the 20 miles an hour. We'll move on then, because I promised to keep stuff going quite swiftly. We're still having responses, by the way. Keep them coming. Dosbarth 4 ysgol iau hyn Golwyn here. Bore da pawb ysgol Abererch yma hefyd yn mwynhau gwrando, a ysgol gymuned Llanerch yma hefyd. Rowch wybod i ni beth ych chi'n meddwl am sylwadau'r gwleidyddion y bore yma. Mae gyda ni ddiddordeb yn o beth sydd gyda chi ddweud. Nawr, fi'n credu y bore yma, mae gyda ni ar cwestiwn 4, 2 gwestiwn, a fi'n gweld un ar ffurf fideo. Dewch i ni cael ryndo beth sydd yr boes mewn weid.
Hi, my name's Ollie.
Hello, my name's Mason.
We're from Victoria CP School. What, in your opinion, is the most significant issue?
Wych, significant issue yn fyna. Dewn ni felly ato, we'll come maybe, the second question here, I think we'll probably answer them both in 1 minute if possible. So, what's the significant issue? And the second question is, we have here, pa ddeddf ydych chi'n meddwl sydd ei angen ar Gymru nesaf? They both sort of are the same question in a way, aren't they? Carolyn, I'll probably come to you first if we can go to the timers on the screen. Carolyn, the significant issue, and what does Wales need next?
I've got 2 different answers, sorry.
Go for it.
Okay, so for Wales, 15 years of cuts to public service funding that people rely on. Our public services are building blocks to our economy, and people are employed in public services. In North Wales, it's the biggest employer. That's our health board employs 20,000 people. Each council employs 6,000 people. That's education, healthcare, planners, highway officers, public protection. You know, we need to get money back into public funding, public services, and also welfare. We rely on it in Wales. And then, shall I ask my second question? Second one.
Great, you've got 20 seconds.
We also, the climate change and the nature emergency is a huge issue, and so is the cost of energy. So my law, the law that I think Wales needs next is a Renewable Energy Wales Bill to legislate for greater community ownership of energy. So we're net exporters with high bills based on gas, yet we have so much renewable energy in Wales. We need to bring those prices down, and we need to make sure that Wales benefits from that energy produced in Wales.
In fairness, Carolyn, I'll let you go over there, in fact, because that's a lot to cram in. But diolch to Ysgol Victoria and for Gwern asking that question as well. Ysgol Victoria, I think that's the second contribution we've had from them this morning. Rhyn, y ddeddf fwyaf pwysig sydd angen efallai, a hefyd beth sydd fwyaf arddercaol i Gymru ar hyn o bryd. Os allwch chi ateb rheini o fewn y munud, os gwelwch yn dda.
Yeah, and Ollie and Mason, thank you very much for the question. One of the most difficult things in politics is that there are lots of things that are priorities, but you have to try to whittle them down. We've mentioned, haven't we, child poverty, massive priority, getting education right. Health is a particularly big one at the moment that we need to get to grips with, in particular, making us a healthier nation to take the pressure off hospitals, you know, keeping us fit, getting us eating better, to make it cheaper, essentially, to run health services because we won't be so ill. So that's a main priority, if you like, for us as politicians in Wales right now. Wrth gwrs, da ni'n byw ar y blaned yma, a fel Carolyn, dwi hefyd wastad yn meddwl mai yr amgylchedd sy'n gorfod bod wrth graidd yr hyn da ni'n meddwl amdano fo wrth siapio gwell dyfodol, a dwi'n mynd i gynnig deddf am yr amgylchedd a un bach syml iawn o bosib i wneud yn siŵr bod bob tŷ yn gorfod cael paneli solar arno fo, a bob adeilad gyhoeddus, swyddfeydd ag ysgolion ag ati mwyn cynhyrchu mwy o ynni'n hawdd.
Wel, Rhyn, Carolyn, diolch yn fawr iawn i chi am eich ymatebion chi'r bore yma. Fi'n siŵr bod pawb yn cytuno bod ni wedi cael cyfnod difyr yn eich cwmni chi. Os rhywbeth licech chi weid, felly rhyw 10 eiliad yr un, i blant Cymru y bore yma. Carolyn, we'll come to you first.
I'd like to say thank you for inviting me, but keep asking these questions and get involved. To make change, you can get involved through volunteering in your communities. That's how I started, as a volunteer, helping with local events. It helped with my confidence too. I was really shy and I never thought I'd get to this level and be able to speak publicly. But volunteering is a great way to meet people, to chat, and then if you see anything you want to make a difference in, write in, speak about it, and you can make that difference.
A rhin fyna ddiolchiadau yn dod I Carolyn a chithau y bore yma gan ysgol Pendinas yn Aberystwyth. Ond rhin rhyw 10 eiliad os allwch chi. Be fydda'ch neges chi I bobl ifanc Cymru y bore yma?
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you all for being here. Peidiwch â gadael penderfyniadau am ddyfodol Cymru I bobl just fel Carolyn a fi. Gadwch I ni weithio efo'n gilydd, yn cynnig atebion, yn chwilio am ffyrdd gwahanol yn gwneud pethau. Dangoswch ddiddordeb yn dyfodol Cymru ac efallai fydden ni weithio efo'n gilydd I wneud pethau'n well I bawb.
Wel, Rhin a Carolyn, fi'n siŵr bod dyrnod a philfos prysur iawn gyda chi. Diolch o galon I chi am ymuno gyda ni bore yma. Ni wedi mwynhau eich cwmni chi a sylwadau reit ddifyr, rhywbeth I ni feddwl amdano I gyd